Hello and welcome to Creativity Uncovered. My name is Abby Gatling and I'm on a journey to uncover how everyday people find inspiration, get inventive and open their imaginations so they can deliver creative results at home, work, play and everything in between. And basically my goal for this podcast is that by the end of it, you'll be armed with a whole suite of tried and tested ways to summon creativity the next time that you need it. Now, today I'm speaking to Mel Jay, who is an ex-financial planning product manager and now a professional declutterer, content creator, and a podcast host. I came across Mel when I listened to an episode of her podcast about the unexpected benefits of decluttering, and I'm so intrigued to find out more. Welcome, Mel.
Thanks, Abby, for having me on. I'm really excited. It's been a while since I've done a podcast, so I'm really excited to get back into it and have a chat with you.
Oh, well, I'm absolutely pleased that you've chosen to do it on my show. So, Mel, I sort of kind of mentioned it a little bit before, but I'm really curious because I've never met a professional declutterer before. My only frame of reference is Marie Kondo. But you have a decluttering coaching business called Simply Mel, where you coach people on how to declutter so they can have more time and space to spend with their families and do the things that they love. So tell me, how did you get into that? And how did you get into decluttering? And how did you get into decluttering coaching specifically?
Well, it came by chance. So I was at home on maternity leave with my second child, and there was just basically a lot of crap around. You know, once you have a child and then once you have two children, you accumulate so much stuff. And I have to admit, my second child was a girl. I had a boy the first time. And so, I wanted some girl stuff, and then you buy new toys and you just end up surrounded by so much stuff. And also I discovered the secondhand economy. So I was on Facebook trying to sell some things, but I actually ended up buying more than I sold.
Yes, guilty.
I jumped on the pages. Yeah, which is not what I recommend to clients. But so I just decided to, declutter my house. And my friend recommended I read Marie Kondo's book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up.
Oh.
I did, and I couldn't put it down. I read it in probably 1.5 evenings. I was just, so I just resonated with what she said, and it motivated me and spurred me on. So, the very next week I started decluttering, and I'd also been watching a few YouTube mums on my maternity leave, and creativity is something. I think it's always been a part of me, and I think because my job in corporate is not what you would call terribly creative or artsy, I wasn't really getting that sort of fulfillment from that, from that part of my life. So I thought, well, I could probably make a video and put it up. So I just filmed myself decluttering things and giving little decluttering tips, and basically it just snowballed from there. I'd say I'm not a professional organizer, like I'm not, certified or anything like that. But I guess it comes from my experience. And so I started off helping a few friends and a few school mums. And then during COVID, I was doing a few virtual sessions. I don't sort of drive around to people's houses and organise. I did that for a few friends, but, I'm a busy mum and that sort of thing. So right now it's more on the content creation side. So I love creating content to motivate and inspire people to declutter and to give them tips and that sort of thing. I'm obsessed with decluttering, and luckily because I've got a non-minimalist husband and 2 children, I always have plenty of content because I'm always decluttering and tidying up after them.
They're keeping you in business, are they?
They are. They're giving me plenty of content. So my husband thinks he's actually doing me a favour.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And so then, I mean, there's wildly different from being a product manager. Are there any transferable skills?
Financial services.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I'd say I come from a sort of a role where, you have to have really good attention to detail. There's a lot of data and compliance. I'm making it sound so sexy and exciting, aren't I?
Wow.
I'm a detailed and task-oriented person, though, so it was the sort of job that suited me to a T.
Yep.
And I just decided to take a step back a few years ago. So I've been in corporate for almost 20 years. And then after I had my second child, I went back to work for a year. And then I decided, hey, I actually want to spend more time with my daughter. And, I'm very fortunate that I could do that my husband has a well-paying job and I could do that. And I was also doing some freelance work, just, using my digital skills from what I'd learned from doing YouTube and things like that. But I'm very fortunate I could do that. But yeah, I think the transferable skills would be you've got to be quite organized, planning skills, strategizing. So you need to make a plan to, if you've got a big job, a big project, whether it's decluttering or, a corporate project, in your office, you do have to, figure out what do I know, what don't I know, do some research, do some planning, plan your action steps and then implement. So that's a transferable skill, and attention to detail.
Yeah.
As well. So I've always been a very detailed person.
Yeah, cool. And so what does decluttering have to do with helping people spend more time with their families? What's the link there?
Well, I think people spend so much time. Well, there's a couple of things. When we get into, we start earning more, you get that lifestyle creep and you start buying more stuff. So you actually spend more of your time working to pay off, the mortgage or the nicer car or the material things or the holidays and things like that. Not that holidays are bad. I always say experiences are better than, accumulating stuff.
Yeah.
So that's one side of it. But the other side is if you've got a smaller house and less stuff to maintain, you've just got more free time. So instead of spending heaps of time cleaning or dusting or, trying to organize things or trying to find items that you've lost because it doesn't have a home or there's just too much stuff and you can't see things, you've got more time to spend on the things that you do like doing, like spending time with your family or, going to the beach or doing a hobby or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you sort of mentioned creativity before, and when we spoke the last time, you said that you're having your business, so your decluttering coaching business, has helped you find yourself and also spend more time with your family. Tell us about that. Like how I feel like as a business owner, I have less time than the average person. But you managed to find more time. Like, what's your secret?
I think I've just gotten better at segmenting things. And I have to say, because both my kids are in school now, once both of them are in school, it does get a little bit easier and they're a bit more self-sufficient. You don't have to, bath them every night. You just say, go take a shower. So that side of it gets easier. But I think partly the coaching. So I discovered a skill that I didn't necessarily, use before. And I discovered, I guess, in a way, in my corporate job, I did mentor some younger staff members. I've had staff reporting to me before. So in that way, you're teaching people things, showing them how to do a job, or you're mentoring in some sort of way. But, never in, sort of a formal capacity, formal relationship. And so when you're coaching someone, whether it's even just, coaching my dad, for example, I went and decluttered my parents' kitchen with them because my mum reckons dad's a hoarder. But I think there's scales of hoarding. I think we've all got a little bit of hoarder in us. But, even just coaching my dad, it's a skill. And I just discovered I like teaching. I like sharing information with people. And then that comes into the content creation, because really a lot of my content is quite informative, or I'm trying to demonstrate what I'm doing or explain what I'm doing, or just show people by, filming myself, on a time lapse, just cluttering a room. And then, there might be a voiceover explaining what I'm doing, or I might just do a straight tips video, things like that. And then even, post on social media. It's basically trying to share information with people to empower them to, get more order in their lives so that they've got more time for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And content creation, I feel, can be very stressful because, there's this constant pressure to keep creating new content that is interesting and engaging. And and even having the skills to be able to do that, as well as the confidence to be on camera to do that. Yeah, how do you find that pressure, and how do you continually come up with new ideas for your videos and for your podcast episodes and yeah, your YouTube channel and all that sort of stuff?
Well, I actually took a break. So during, when everything locked down and COVID, everyone was at home, and I've been on YouTube for about 3 years by that point. And I found it hard to film around my family. My husband doesn't like to be on camera at all. And I'm very cautious about how much of my kids that I'll show just for their own privacy. I don't use their real names, for example. I use nicknames when I refer to them and things like that. So safeguarding their privacy, but then also I had another priority. I had to remote school my son and keep my daughter occupied. She was in preschool at the time. So I actually took a step back. And also after doing YouTube for a few years, and I think too, trying to turn it into a business, sometimes that can put even more pressure on you when you've got pressure to monetize it, and it's not as much fun anymore. So I took a long break, a 3-year break, in fact, and I've only just started getting back into video now. I was doing the podcast though at the time, so I kind of swapped something, out the video out for podcasting because I needed to be doing something. But podcasting was easy. I could do it in a dark room at night, no makeup on, when my kids were asleep. So it was a lot. So I think you've got to work with, one, your bandwidth. So, if you've got a job, whether it's part-time, full-time, or you've got family, you've got to think what's realistic for you. And it's got to be something that you love doing and love talking about. So if you hate being on camera, then doing video content is probably not for you. Whereas if you like, writing, you might be better at blogging, or if you like chatting to people, podcasts would be fine. You don't necessarily need to show your face. And on Instagram, you don't need to necessarily show your face either on video. There's ways to do videos. So it's got to be a topic that you love. It's got to be sustainable. Otherwise, you won't keep it up. There's no point creating stuff on a topic that, you're not that passionate about. It's got to be something that you're curious about. I'm always reading, articles and books and, watching documentaries or YouTube videos and watching other people declutter, because that motivates and inspires me as well. And there's always, new things you can learn or new ways of creating content that you can learn. So that sort of thing is interesting to me. So those are the key things. And if you need to take a break, take a break. For me, it's easy to get caught up in subscriber numbers. So I think I got to about, a very small channel. I only got up to about 2,000 subscribers, and it went down a bit when I had a break. And I know that when I start publishing videos again, it's probably going to go down again, because people will realize, I'm still subscribed to this person, not really interested, unsubscribe, but then I'll get new people in as well. Yeah. And I've learned it's not the quantity of, who's following you. It's the quality of the people. So those people who are really into your content and engaging. And those people reviewing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I've heard a few times, is that when people are doing content creation for social media, then it's so easy to focus just on the numbers and seeing that follower rate go up, the subscriber rate go up. And sometimes it can be to the detriment of your content. Yeah, because you might be going, oh, well, if I do something that's really clickbaity or something that's sensational, I'll get more eyeballs. But like you said, it's not the engagement. It's not the true followers. It's kind of a playoff, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for example, on Instagram, you could be doing a reel where it's like dancing, or the ones where they point and do certain things, or boom to audio or whatever it is. But that might not be your style, and it will come across like that. It will look awkward. So it's got to be authentic to you. I think I've only done one when I danced, and it was just because I liked the song and it fitted in with the particular idea that I had at the time. So it's got to be something that really resonates with you. Don't just do it because you think, that's going to get me trends and that kind of thing. So I try not to focus on the numbers, because I think really it's about the content. I want to produce content that helps people, that inspires people, that's fun. I'm a bit quirky and funny sometimes. I for a while, I did a few parody videos on my YouTube channel. I did like a Frozen song parody, which is really cheesy, and I had to do the lyrics myself because I rewrote the lyrics, and I cannot sing it all. I'm a bit tone deaf, so it's a bit cringy.
I need to find this video.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny, and it's called Do You Want to Go to Kmart, as opposed to Do You Want to Build Snowman? And for a while, when my son was young, we'd go to the mall and he'd be like, Mum, do you want to go to Kmart? And he'd sing it. I can't sing it. It's cringy.
I won't make you do that, but I'm definitely finding it after this.
Say it to me in that sing-songy voice. Do you want to go to Kmart?
Yeah.
It was fun. And I just had this idea one day, and I don't know where it came from. Well, obviously I was watching a lot of Frozen at the time with my kids. And the lyrics just poured out of me, and I had to sit down right that minute and write it down. And then I did the audio. And the next day when my son was at, I don't know, daycare or school, probably daycare at that point, and my daughter was having a nap, I filmed it all during her, sort of 1.5 hour nap. And I had it all planned out in my head. I didn't write it down. I just had it in my head, and I did it. And some of it I managed to do even after she woke up, because, even if she's crying or whatever, or making noise in the background, just put it on, it's got the audio over it. So it didn't matter. So there's ways of creating content that fit in with, your circumstances and your schedule.
Yeah.
I'd just say do you. Whatever fits with you, whatever resonates with you, whatever you feel is comfortable for you. Don't try and copy, or emulate someone else because you think that's what's going to get you views or hits or that kind of thing. But in terms of keeping, getting the ideas fresh and things, that's why I needed to take a break, I think, because I was forcing the ideas. I've done so many decluttering videos, and in a way I was getting caught up a bit in the view metrics, thinking no one's watching them. What am I doing this for? But right now for me, I think, it doesn't matter if I put out a video after 3 years and I only get 1 or 2 views. I'm doing it to satisfy myself, and it could help people. You don't know how many people are actually watching, even if you don't get comment. I don't comment on a lot of people's stuff, even if I really like it. And sometimes I even forget to thumbs up or whatever it is. So you really never know how many people you're impacting. I've had a couple of mums at school come up to me and said, oh, I saw you did such and such on your Instagram. I think it was a grocery haul that I did a couple of years ago. I was like, I didn't realize anyone had actually seen that. She was like, oh, that's really good. It's inspired me to go and plan some meals. But, that's just because she happened to see me, but she never comments, on Instagram. So
that's interesting feedback, isn't it?
Impacts that you don't necessarily see. So you can't get too up in your head about, oh, no one's watching this, or, it's got to be something that's satisfying to you.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool. I love that. I love the having the freedom of your own business gives you the opportunity to explore and flex these muscles, which you may not have had the opportunity to in the past. And your idea creation and learning the video skills and the editing skills, that's really cool. And so I mentioned sort of at the beginning, I kind of came across you because of this episode that of your podcast I listened to about the unexpected benefits of decluttering, and how that's led you down a whole new creative path. Tell me a little bit about that. How did decluttering itself make you feel more creative?
Well, I think it also stems from me being a person that kind of needs order around me to function. So if I go to sit down to work, my desk is messy, I'm like, oh, it's so distracting. I just want to clear space. I don't like mess around. And it's like I say to my kid, my husband, if you're cooking one night and then you don't clean up the kitchen, I'm not inspired to make breakfast the next day because there's all this mess around. I like to clean to start with. Some people aren't like that, and they can, get on with it. But I need, order in my life.
Yes.
But also I saw that the content I was creating was helping people, and I didn't really intend to, go to people's houses or even start coaching people. But I had a couple of mums come up to me at school and say, oh, I need to declutter. Do you offer that kind of service? And I'm like, well, Not really, but I can come around and help you. And they paid me for it.
Nice.
So, and I knew it was a thing. Yeah. So, I mean, I enjoy it. I think I enjoy the content creation more, and I enjoy the business side of things. And, I did some freelance social media stuff for people. I've done video editing for people. So I think, in terms of actual services, rather than go around and declutter people's houses, I'm more interested in teaching people.
Yeah.
And then also helping people, other content creators as well. That's something that, I'll be exploring this year as well further. How can I help other people? Might not necessarily be through the same channel, but it might be through other ways, just on social media, inspiring people or having chats to people if they want to, chat to me and engage.
Yeah.
But I wrote down some ideas on how I get my ideas.
Oh, yes.
And this is a thing. I took my journal to the coffee shop after I dropped the kids off, and that's one thing. I worked with a coach called Carly Marie, and she always used to say scribbles before scrolls. So before you pick up your phone and start scrolling, pick up a pen and paper, and you don't need to journal 5 pages of stuff. It could just be one thought. Just get the thoughts out of your head first thing in the morning before you let all the external stuff get into your head.
Yeah.
And that's where the ideas may came from. It just might be a random thought, and that might turn into an Instagram post or an idea for a video. Or an idea for, a digital product or whatever it is that you want to create.
Yeah.
So, scribbles before scrolling, before
Love
you let the external stuff and other people's ideas and content get into your head.
Yes.
Create more than you consume. So, try not to binge too much Netflix and YouTube before, you create things yourself. Be intentional about what you consume. So I actually don't watch a lot of TV shows. Everyone's talking about Bridgerton and Queen Charlotte and Stranger Things. I haven't watched any of them because I am a binger. I have no limit. So if I start watching TV night, I'll be up till 4 a.m. because I'll be like, just one more.
Oh, wow.
Actually watch movies because they have a start and a finish.
Yeah.
But I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, and it's more, people decluttering, or it might be learning how to do something new in my business. And I read, but it's more nonfiction books. It might be something I'm interested in, learning more about in terms of growing my skills, that kind of thing. Get plenty of sleep. If you're tired, you're not going to be creative. You're just going to be, surviving the day. Really, you're not going to be thriving. Write down all your ideas immediately. I have learned this the hard way, where I've had a great idea and I'm just out walking the dog or whatever. I'll write that down when I get back, or, flesh that out more. And I get home and I'm like, oh my God, it's gone.
It's out of your head. Yeah, I know that feeling.
It's so frustrating, right? So just on your phone, a voice memo even, if your hands free, a voice memo, or on your notes, or post it, whatever, just make sure you get it down in some way, shape or form, because I've got a memory like a goldfish bowl. Don't get caught up in perfection. So we were talking about this just before we came on, whether you're doing a podcast or a video, if there's a little bit of background noise, or the light's not quite right, or, your makeup's not quite right, or, you've only got 5 minutes to record something, you think, I don't have enough time, just do it. You'd be surprised how much you can get done and what you can actually produce. The day I produced that Frozen song video, I had this massive pimple and I was like, oh, this is going to look horrible. I watched the video back. I can't even see it.
Yeah.
Makeup. I can't even see it. I just remember, if I'd been all up in my head, that video would not exist.
Yeah, absolutely. Why do you think we are so harsh on ourselves in that this idea of perfectionism has come up a few times when I've been speaking to people about, there's always some excuse why you can't put something out. Like you said, I got a pimple, or my voice didn't sound good in that one, or whatever. Why do we do that? Why do you think we do that?
Well, I think it's a couple of things. I think it's, our work represents us, so we want it to be the best it can be when we put it out in the world, and we want to share something that's really great. If we think something's doesn't look quite right, we're like, oh, people aren't going to watch that. It's not going to be good. But the big one is fear of judgment. I think we're so worried about what other people think of us, and what they're going to say. And I've just learned you can't please everyone. I mean, I've put out videos before where I've had so many comments saying, oh, that was boring, you talk too much, or, whatever. And then other people that said that same video, oh, that was so helpful, that was wonderful. So you're not going to be able to please everyone. Everyone's going to have a different opinion and an idea. I think you've just got to please yourself. And if, people find it helpful, that's great. Not everyone will.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned in that episode that I listened to about how you've got this new sense of creativity and you're trying out new hobbies and things like that. But you sort of had this interesting reflection on how, as a kid, you used to be really creative and write stories and draw and all this sort of stuff. And then now, as an adult, before you started this business, that sort of creativity was kind of whittling away down to nothing. And I just found that so interesting because I think that's so true. As adults, we kind of go, if it's not important and if it's not to do with making money or some other reason, then we just kind of don't do it. But talking to you now, you're coming alive when you're talking about creativity. So it's definitely a thing that I think more people should put into their lives and not be so afraid to put stuff out there just because.
Oh, absolutely. And it could just be where you start an Instagram account and you just post little, 15-second stories every now and then. I actually give that as a tip to people if they want to get comfortable on camera. Even if they do an Instagram story and at first they don't actually publish it, it just gets them used to talking to the camera. It's practice.
Yeah.
And so my motto, well, particularly in the last month where I've been really committed to, I'm like, right, I'm going to restart my YouTube channel. I want to put stuff out there and help people again. And I want to, do something that inspires myself as well as other people. So and I even wrote it on my whiteboard. My daughter was like, what's that written on Monday? I've got this weekly whiteboard and I couldn't find any other room. So it's on Monday. And it says create every day. So I create something every day. And that could be as simple as writing down an idea or taking a photo or editing a video. So it's not necessarily me jumping in front of the camera and filming something or doing an Instagram post, but it might be just something that contributes to the creation of something every day.
Yeah.
That whole thing of, creating a habit. And that just needs to take, could take 30 seconds to write down an idea that popped into my head.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think if you say, I'm going to film every day, it's probably not going to happen. Life gets in the way. Excuse me. But yeah, I think, as a child, I was very creative, but then and, all credit to my parents. They thought they were doing the right thing. I used to say, do you watch that show, The Chase? And they've got that, one of the chasers is Tiger Mum. I say that my mum was the wannabe Tiger Mum. Love it a bit. She's not like that anymore. I think she realizes that, I'm doing stuff that fulfills me. And she's very proud of me. She says that. But when I was a kid, my parents were like, okay, you need to go to university, you need to do a business degree, and you need to do accounting. And so they chose all of my subjects in high school. I had to do accounting, even though they weren't my strongest subjects. And I didn't enjoy them that much. So I went to university and did a business degree. And so I think you get caught up in life and doing what you think you should do or what's expected, or, I'm an adult now, so I should do the sensible thing instead of indulging in what makes me happy. And, there's a balance. You can do both. Obviously we all have to go to work and pay our bills. But I think, if there's an itch inside of you that says I must create something, then indulge it. And it doesn't have to be something that, means you quit your job like I did.
It's pretty extreme.
Yeah. I mean, for a while in that period, I don't want it to sound, I think a lot of people see big, YouTubers on, different channels, especially in the US, mums who clean their houses, for example, and they quit their jobs and that's what they do full time. I was doing virtual administration. I was doing some subcontracting for people doing social media management. So I still had money coming in, but then I also had, my daughter at home with me, 2 or 3 days a week. So I was doing other stuff as well. And I think it's just me. And that's why I started my YouTube channel when I was on maternity leave. Even though I loved being a mum at home with my child, I think I've got the sort of brain that needs to be learning something or creating something or producing something of some sort.
Yeah.
Whether it's generating money through doing, a job or whatever it is. And I have a part-time job now. I've got a part-time job working 20 hours a week for a very nice company, and I'm very lucky that it's all remote, so I can work all from home. My days off, I do, I create content and I talk to you people like yourself, doing podcasting and things like that.
Yeah, that's cool. I do like that's kind of the way the world is moving, is this more flexibility in your life. And I don't know if it's like a worldwide trend, but certainly in my sort of connections, there seems to be this more, since COVID, there seems to be this focus more on what's fulfilling me and what's going to make me happy, rather than this straight career track that people used to be on. And people being a bit more creative about how they approach their work life, whether that's going part-time, remote, moving into the gig economy, starting their own business. It's really interesting to see. And I really love the idea that people are making more time and more space for themselves to be able to fulfill and chase the things that make them happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I say to people, beware of lifestyle creep. So when you get a pay rise, don't think, oh, I'm going to go out and buy a really fancy car now, or, maybe the car you've still got is good enough, because I think that's when people lock themselves into this lifestyle that they may get to a point and they're not happy with all the amount of time they're spending working in their job, or they may not enjoy that particular job anymore. And then they feel kind of stuck because, they're paying for things that they need to keep paying for. They've made these financial commitments. So I always say beware of lifestyle creep.
Yeah.
But, I live in Sydney. We've got a mortgage that is, increasing at the moment because of the interest rate rises. And so, I'm still working part-time, like I said. And then, sometimes I still take on the odd freelance job, and I'm probably going to pick that up again because I enjoy it. And now that my kids are settled and both my kids are settled in school, I've got the time to take on that extra work. I also pet sit sometimes as well, so I get money from doing that. So it's not I'm sitting there all day every day making videos waiting for Google AdSense money to roll in from the ads on YouTube videos, which is not very much, by the way. That won't pay a Sydney mortgage.
That's a whole nother thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
monetization of content.
Yes, but I try and do things like I enjoy pet sitting. So my husband won't let me get a second dog. I've got this lovely rescue puppy, and he said one's enough. And so this is my way of having a second dog. I look after other people's dogs sometimes.
Nice. Creative
and
thinking.
Luckily, I get paid for it as well. But yeah, I enjoy it. So I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. So you've got to find things that, you enjoy. And I always say this, downsizing your career, I guess people could say, oh, you downsized your career or you downgraded. I don't think of it as a downgrade. I think of it as downsizing in a way, because I've got less responsibility, less stress, less hours and less pay. But downsizing your career is not necessarily downsizing your life. So I've just, to me, the flexibility around my kids and to have time for my creative pursuits is worth it. Yeah. I wouldn't say never to going back to corporate if it was the right job and the right, hours and the right environment. So,
yeah. As long as your creative need was being fulfilled elsewhere, right?
Yeah. And like I said, as my kids get older, it's easier. Yeah. They're a bit more self-sufficient. I can say, right, go make your lunches, so my son has to pack the lunch boxes every night. That's his job now.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you're getting time back elsewhere where, that's interesting. So I like that. There's sort of like this continuum, isn't it? It's ever changing of where's this balance of work, life, play, and where you can slot in creativity throughout it. If you're not necessarily getting it from your full-time, main job, where else can you get it in your life? That's cool.
Absolutely. We've all got different seasons of life. So I've been through the really young, preschool kind of kids age, and that that's hard. Before your kids go to school, that's hard. But then even as they start going to school, there's other challenges. So, at the moment, my son's got a big assignment due on Friday that has been a little painful, but we're getting through it. So there's homework and things like that. And then they've got different emotional needs as they grow up. So there's different seasons of life, but he doesn't need me to sit down and, spoon feed him and that kind of things. And, my daughter she's 7. She's just started being able to run her own. I trust her to run her own bath now without me needing to test the water. Like she knows what to do and that kind of thing. She's careful. So there's other things that kind of changes slightly. But yeah, as they get older, it gets a bit easier because they're not as dependent on you for the basic stuff. And, I've got a colleague that I used to work with in corporate. He retired a couple of years ago, and I've heard that he sits at home and writes screenplays now in his free time.
Oh, cool.
So it's another season of life,
Yeah. Well, I hope that people don't have to wait till retirement to refine their creative outlet again. But you've certainly given a lot of good tips and insights for people how people can incrementally add little bits of creativity throughout their life, work and home as well. So wow, yeah, thank you so much. That was a really interesting conversation. We talked around the world, I think, but starting with decluttering, ending up with the screenplays. So that's great.
Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the chat. It's been great.
Yeah, no.
Dusting off my old microphone.
Oh, no, it's absolutely a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me. And thank you to everyone who has tuned in to Creativity Uncovered today. I really hope that this episode has inspired you to not only declutter, but also help you to find another way that you can summon your creativity the next time you need it. Thanks so much. Take care. If you've made it this far, a huge thank you for your support and tuning into today's episode. Creativity Uncovered has been lovingly recorded on the land of the Cubby Cubby people, and we pay our respect to elders past, present, and emerging. This podcast has been produced by my amazing team here at Crisp Communications, and the music you just heard was composed by James Gatling. If you liked this episode, please do share it around and help us on our mission to unlock more creativity in this world. You can also hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any new episode releases.